Okay, Shvua Tov. Today's daf is daf Yud Zayin. We're holding on daf Tes Zayin and Mabeis towards the end of the Amud by the two dots. Rav Elazar Basar de Mitzayim Salutse Amar Hachi. Rav Elazar, when he would finish saying his tefillas at the end of Shema Esrei, we'll see later on that one is supposed to add his own additions to the Shema Esrei somewhere, either in the Kiyata Shemei Tefillas Kol Amcha Yisrael Barachamim before there, or davening, but whatever the case is, one is supposed to add his own tefillah to make the spice up the tefillah, so to speak, and to make it more personal. Okay, so Rav Elazar, when he would finish saying his Shemona Esrei, it should be your will, Hashem our God. You should let dwell in our lot ahava, love, v'achva, and brotherhood, shalom, v'reyos, v'sarbik, v'leinu, v'talmidim, and you should make our boundaries filled with students, v'tatzliach sofenu, and you should make our end successful, acharis, the end, v'tikva, v'tasim chalkenu, b'gan eden, and put our place in Gan Eden, v'siknenu b'chever tov, v'yetzer tov, ba'olamecha. In this world we should have good friends and the yetzer tov in this world. V'nashkim, we will get up early. V'nimsa, we will find Yachel Avenu, that our heart is ready and willing. Liyara Shemecha, to feel your name. V'tavel Lefanecha, Kars Nafsheni L'tova, and our supplications should come before you. The supplications of our soul should come for you for good. Okay, so that was the way he used to complete his tefillah. Rav Yochanan, Basar de Mitzayim Salutse, after he would finish davening, Amar Hachi, he would say this: Yehi Ratzon Lefanecha, it should be Hashem your will. Hashem Elokeinu shetatzis b'vosheinu. You should peek at our busha, right, at our shame, v'sabi b'raseinu, and look at our bad, the evilness that we're engrossed in, v'silbash b'rachamecha, and gird yourself with His mercy, v'tiskeb b'uzecha, v'tischaseb b'uzecha, cover yourself with strength, v'tisatif, and sort of cover yourself like a lashon v'talis, v'tisatif b'chasidusecha, and gird yourself with your graciousness. It should come before you only the traits of good and your humility and the way you treat us. Okay? Rav Zera Basar B'Tzayim Salutse, Rav Zera, after he would finish his davening, Amar Hachi, Hashem, it should be your will. Hashem Elokeinu shalei nechata, we shouldn't sin v'lei nevosh, and we shouldn't v'lei nekalim, and we shouldn't be embarrassed from our forefathers. Okay? Rav Chia Basar Matzli, Amar Hachi, Hashem Elokeinu shetehei tarasecha u'naseinu, that the Torah, your Torah should be our umnus, it should be our craft, v'al yid ve'elavenu, and our heart shouldn't become darkened, v'yichashchu einenu, and our eyes shouldn't get darkened, our heart shouldn't get down, and our eyes shouldn't get darkened. Okay? Rav Basar Tzlusi Amar Hachi. Rav, when he would finish davening, he would say so: it should be your will, Hashem our God. Shetitein lanu, that you should give us Chaim Aruchim, long life, Chaim Shal Shalem, a life of peace, Chaim Shal Tova, a life of goodness, Chaim Shal Bracha, of blessings, Chaim Shal Parnasa, Chaim Shal Chilutz Atzama, of strength to the bones, physical strength, Chaim Sheish B'Miras Chet, a life that has fear of sin, Chaim She'im B'Hem Busha Chlima, there's no embarrassment or ashamedness, Chaim Shal Osher V'Kavod, a life of and honor. Chaim shetehebanu avas Torah v'yir shamayim, it should be in us a love of Torah and fear of heaven. Chaim shetemal alonu kol mashanas lebeinu l'tova, you should fill all of the desires of our heart for good. Okay, and we know that we actually say this tefillah for Birchas HaChodesh. We did today. Rabbi Basar Tzlusi, Rabbi, after he would finish davening Amar Hachi, he would say this: Yehi ratzon lefanecha, it should be your will. Hashem Elokeinu v'elokei avosenu, shetatzilenu, that you should save us me'azei panim, right, from those that are haughty or brazen, or me'azas panim, and from the trait of brazenness. Okay, chutzpah. May Adam ra, from bad people, may Pegar ra, from bad encounters, may Yitzhak ra, from bad inclinations, may Chaver ra, bad friends, may Shachin ra, bad neighbors, may Satan hamashchas, and from the destroying prosecutor, may Din kasher, and from a hard din, justice, and may Baal Din kasher, and a bad judge would give us a din kasher, ben Shu ben bris, whether he's part of the bris, or ben She'ena ben bris, he doesn't have a bris. Even then, he said this to protect me from bad people, even though Rebbe was very wealthy and he was friends with Antoninus. Antoninus actually gave a delegation. He had his own guard, his own bodyguards. Okay, Rav Safra Basar Tzlusi Amar Hachi, after he would davening, he would say this: it should be your will, Hashem. You should put peace in the familia from like the Latin word of familia, or family, or groups, shalmala, that are above, referring to the celestial angels, uva familia shamata, and corresponding to peace below on earth, in the groups down below. And between the Talmidim, your students who are engrossed in your Torah, whether they're learning for the proper intention, or lishma, for your name, or whether they're not learning for the proper intentions. Whoever is learning for not proper intentions, we'll see later on. We'll elaborate that a little bit. That they should in fact by Isaac Lishma. Okay? Rav Alexandri Basar Tzlusi Amar Hachi. Rav Alexandri, after he would davening, he would say this: Shetamidenu bekeren oira. You should stand us in the galus, in a lighted corner. V'altamidenu bekeren chashecha. Don't keep us in a dark corner. V'al yidve levenu, and don't make our hearts down. And our eyes shouldn't be dark. Some say Rav Hamnuna Masila. This is Rav Hamnuna's tefillah was, and Rav Alexandri would in fact say a different prayer, and this was the prayer: Ribono Olam, Master of the universes, Galivi Yadu Lefanecha, is known before you. Shiratzaneinu Lasas Ritzanecha, we want to do your will. Umi Ma'akev, and who's holding us back? Sa'or Shebiyisa v'Shibud Malchias. It's the yeast in the dough, and the Shibud Malchias is the oppression of we had in the gullus of the kings. Okay, and the commentators explain that the yeast, just as yeast in the dough, it aggravates the dough and causes it to rise. So too, the Yetzer Hara, it stops us from doing. It causes us to do averos, to do bad things by instigating us. Okay, and Shibud Malchias is a reference to the despotic rulers in those days. They would give the Jewish people a hard time for doing mitzvahs. They wouldn't let them do bris milah and learn Torah. So we have the stopping of the Yetzer Hara, and the stopping of the Yetzer Tov, and not letting us do mitzvahs, and the start of the Yetzer Hara by causing us to do averos. Okay, so here should be your wish. You should save us from their hands. We should go back to doing the tenderness of your will with a complete heart. Rava Basar Tzlusi Amar Hachi. Rava, after he would daven, he would say this: Helakai, or God, my God, Achlin Etzarti, before I was created in a Kedai. I wasn't worth being created. Okay, we do sin. Ve'achshash Etzarti, now that I was created, Kila Etzarti. It's as if I wasn't created, because it's better I wouldn't have been created, because I do sin. Afarni b'chayai, I'm dirt in my life. Kavachayim b'sasi, of course, after they bury me, I'm going to be dirt. Harei ani lefanecha, I am before you, kli mali busha chlima, like a kli, like a utensil filled with embarrassment and shame. Yirat sem lefanecha, it should be your will. Shem alekai shleicha ta'ira, I shouldn't sin anymore. Umashachatasi lefanecha, that which I did sin. Marek barachamecha rabim, erase with your abundant mercy. Havalei adi yisur b'chalayim, not through afflictions or horrible diseases. The Gemara says, the way he would complete, Rava would complete his tefillah, that's the way Rav Hamnuna Zuti would daven on Yom Kippur, and that's in fact we instituted this prayer to be said after the vidoy. Okay, Mar Braid Ravina Mar, the son of Ravina Kev, Mitzayim Salusa, after he would daven Amar Hachi, he would say this: Elekai Nitzar. This is pretty much the version that we have adopted with slight changes. Elekai, my God, Nitzar l'shayni meira, guard my mouth from evil. Okay, this is absolute evil, where a person intends to do evil and say evil. This is fasai medaber mirma, my lips from utterances of deception, where a person thinks he may be doing the right thing, but he ends up saying things that aren't correct, or whatever it is. L'kalei nafshi, those who curse my soul. Sidaim, I should be quiet. I shouldn't respond. And I should regard myself as afar, as dirt to everybody. I should be humble. Open my heart in your Torah, and in your mitzvahs. Chariot of Nashi, my soul should run. And save me from a bad encounter, the evil inclination, and from a bad woman, and from any bad that's going to happen in the world. And whoever thinks about me bad thoughts, wants to do harm to me, quickly tear up, ruin their plan, and bother, obliterate their thoughts. May it be your will that the utterances of my mouth, be the thoughts of my heart, should be before you, my rock and my redeemer. Okay? Rav Sheshis What about Rav Sheshes Keviyasa B'Tanisa? After he would sit in the tinus, after he had fasted, when he was in the process of fasting, really, and he would daven Basar Damasli at the end of the tefillah Marhachi, he would say this: Ribono Olamim, Master of the universe. Gali lefanecha, it's revealed before you bisman Beis Hamikdash kayam, when the Beis Hamikdash was around. Adam chayte, when a person would sin, umakriv carbon, he would bring an asham or a chatas. Ve'im akrivim meno, and they would only burn on the mizbeach chel boy v'damai, the fats and the blood. Umischaper, and he would have atonement. V'achshav, now yeshafti b'tainas, I sat in a fast. V'nismayit chel v'damai, my blood sugar went down, and I actually lost fat and blood. Yiratzayim lefanecha should be your will sheichel v'damai shnismayit, that the blood, the fat and blood of mine that was lessened, kilo hakarvaisel lefanecha al gabe hamizbeach v'ser tzeini, as if it was sacrificed on top of the mizbeach, and it was for you, and it appeased you, and it was ritzei, okay, it was wanted. Now the Gemara says different sayings from different Amaras that they used to say when they would complete different things. Okay, so Rav Yochanan Messiah Sifra to Eov, when he would complete the Sefer of Eov, right, the Sefer of Job, which we know was quite a depressing story, and it has inspiration for people who are going through trials and tribulations. And Rav Yochanan, as we stated before, Rav Yochanan lost all 10 of his sons, so he was someone who was familiar with the book of Eov and used to read it constantly. When he would finish reading it, Amar Halchi, he would say this: Saif Adam Lamos, the end of man is death. B'saif behem l'shchita, the end of an animal is to shchita, it's ritual slaughtering. V'akol mitzay naimdim, and everyone's waiting to die. Okay, everyone's going to die at some point, some earlier, some later. Ashrei mi shegadal b'Torah, praiseworthy is the one who becomes great in Torah, who grows up with Torah, v'amela b'Torah, and he works hard in Torah, v'yisa nachas ruach li'yotzer, and he gives nachas, okay, to his Creator. V'gadal b'shem tov, and he grows up with a good name. V'nifta b'shem tov, and he passes on with a good name in Olam from the world. V'alav, on him, Amar Shlomo says, King Shlomo says in Kahelas, Tov Shem Ishem Tov, greater is a good name than good oils. V'yem hamamis v'yem havlada, in the day of death and the day of birth. Okay, Miragula de Pume de Rameir. It was frequently said in the mouth of Rameir. He used to say it all the time. Gemara b'chol levavacha. Hashem is saying to us, learn with all of your heart, b'chol nafshecha, and all of your soul, ladas es darki, to know my ways. God says, to know how I act. V'lishkad al dalsi, and to not constantly my doors, basically be at my doors in an industrious fashion, constantly seeking me out in the spirituality of God. Okay, the tsar terasi belavavcha, the tsar terasi belavavcha. Guard the Torah, my Torah, in your heart. V'neged einecha tiyeh rasi, and opposite your eyes should be my fear. Shmor picha, guard your mouth mikol chet, from all sin. V'taher, and purify. V'kadesh atzmecha, and make yourself holy mikol hashama v'avain, from all sin or inequity. V'ani eyem b'chol makom, and I will be with you in all places. Okay, it was frequently said, it was stated in the mouths of the rabbis from Yavna, and they used to say, comparing themselves to their friends who were the working class, who weren't the scholars. I am a creation of God, and he's a creation of God. We both know the difference between good and evil. My work is in the city, I don't have to travel very far. And his work is in the field. I wake up early for my work, and he gets up early for his work. Just like he doesn't get involved in my work, he doesn't learn Torah so much. So I don't get involved in his work. Okay? You would say maybe he's doing the right thing. You know, my friend, he's not so bright. He doesn't have the kind of to grasp the Torah concepts that are sometimes very deep and difficult. So maybe I would learn a lot. So it's good I'm learning. But he wouldn't learn as much. He would only learn a little, and therefore says they would say not true. Shanina, we learn echad hamarbe. Well, some learn a lot. Echad hamamet, some learn a little. That's not what's important. As long as one has proper intentions towards heaven. Okay. Abaya used to was fluent, and it was always frequently saying, a person should be cunning with fear, and how to trick the Yetzer Hara. A soft answer calms down an angry one, meaning when someone's angry, it's best to respond to them with a soft reply. Umar b'shalom imachiv, and one should try to increase peace with his brothers, v'im kroivav, and with his family members, v'im koladim, with everybody. V'afilu nachir b'shuk, even with the non-Jew in the street. K'nei of lamala, he should be beloved above, v'nechman lamata, and pleasant below. V'yim mekubla alabrias, and people should accept him. Amar Lav Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai said about Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai, Shalai hegdimu adam shalom me'olam, that no one ever said hello to him first. Vafilu nachri b'shuk, even a nachri, a idol worshiper, a non-Jew in the shuk, who he was walking by, he would always make his point to say hello to them before they could say hello to him. Okay. And the Gemara continues. Meragla pume de Rava, it was frequently said in the mouth of Rava. Tachlis chachma, the purpose of wisdom is tshuva ma'asim tovim, is repentance into good deeds. Shelo yeh adam koyer v'shayna, person shouldn't be someone who reads and learns. Ubaye ba'av v'ibay b'rabbe v'misha gadol menu b'chachma v'minyan. He shouldn't be a person who learns and then he just rebels against his father, his mother, his teacher, or anyone who's greater than him in wisdom or years. Shenemar, like the verse says, Reishis chachma yiras Hashem. The beginning of wisdom is fear of God. Seichel tov, good intuition, l'chol eseim, to all those who do it. And lo'isim never, not to those, el lo'isehem, to those who do it. What does that mean? Lois, in regards to lo'isim l'shma, v'loi lo'isim shloi l'shma. This is only referring to people who actually do it l'shem Hashem, okay, for the sake of God. V'loi lo'isim shloi l'shma, not for people who don't do it for the right intentions. Ben v'chol lo'isim shloi l'shma, whoever does something, whoever learns Torah and is involved in God's work without the right intentions, it would have been better if he was never created. So obviously, Tosfos points out this doesn't seem to jive with the Gemara we had in the beginning of this very Amud, which says that they had a tefillah for also the people who are Isaac Lishma, and the people who are Isaac Shloi Lishma, that one day they should be Isaac Lishma. So how could it doesn't seem to be saying that they should never been created? So Tosfos explains that there's two kinds of Shaloi Lishma, of with bad intentions. What are the two kinds? There are people who have bad intentions, meaning they do it for honor, they do it for their own self-fulfilling purposes. Okay, now that's one reason, and that's not great, but it's at least you're on the right track because you have a chance of getting to a place where you will do it Lishma one day. But then the other kind of Shaloi Lishma is Lekantar, where you're actually doing it to basically have the knowledge to be able to fight with people, to be able to instigate and to argue with Torah scholars, and that's considered Shaloi Lishma, that is in fact dangerous. Okay, so then the Gemara continues, and the Gemara says, Miragla Pume de Rav, it was frequently said in the mouth of Rav, Loi ka'olam hazeh olam haba. This world is not like the next world. The next world, it has no eating, it has no drinking, it has no sex relations, it has no business, there's no jealousy, there's no hatred, and there's no the competition. The righteous people sit, and their crowns are on their heads, and they're enjoying the glory of the Shekhinah, divine presence. Like the verse says, is like him. They saw God, and they ate and drank. And this refers to a spiritual nourishment. Okay. Then the Gemara says, greater is the promise of security, tranquility that Hashem promised the women, greater than to the men. Shenemar, like the verse says, Na'ashim, the pasuk says, Na'ashim sha'ananais, koimna, the women who are tranquil, who are at ease, should get up. Shemana ka'eli, listen to my voice. Benais b'ayduchais, trust the women who have who are secure. Hazein rasi, pay attention to my words. So you see, not only they're at ease and they're tranquil, they're also they have my trust, they have my faith that everything is going to be okay for them. Okay, so the Gemara says, Amalei Rav L'Rav Nashim b'May what were women? Why did women merit to have this? So the Gemara, he told them back, they bring their sons to the Beit Knesset, where they frequently have their little yeshivas there, and they would learn Torah. And they let their husbands go learn in the yeshivas in the next towns. And they wait for their husbands until they come from home from learning. Okay, just to point out that this is very difficult, or the nature of the woman is that she cleaves to her husband and she wants her husband around. So to let her husband go learn, and the waiting is actually what she gets the schar for. Okay. And where it says, when the rabbis would leave one another, they would say goodbye to each other, okay, and they would go back home or to the next city. And when they would leave the rabbanim from the yeshiva of Ami, from the house of Chanina, they would tell him this. Okay? Your world you should see in your life. You should have everything you need. Others learn this to mean your world you should see in your life is literally your world. It means you should fulfill your potential. Okay? And your end should be for the eternal life in the next world. And your hope should be darim, for generations. Your heart, tevuna, should understand insight, and picha, your mouth, should speak wisdom. And your tongue, should whisper songs to Hashem. And afapecha, your eyelids, and you should be straight opposite you, meaning you should live a straight life. And your eyes, Torah, should light up with the light of Torah. Upanecha, on your face, Yashiru, should shine like the shine of the sky. Sifsesecha, on your lips, Yabiu Deus, should enunciate also das, right? Okay, discernment. Ukil yasecha, and your kidneys ta'aloizna mesharim, should rejoice the like the straight ones. Upamecha, and your steps, your feet, yarutzu l'shmaya divrei atikim, we should run to hear the words of the one of days of old, meaning of Hashem. Okay. When the rabbis would leave the house of Chisda, some say from Shmuel Nachmani, they would tell him this. Alufenu misubalim. Okay, there's a pasuk in Tehillim, and it says, Alufenu, our chiefs or our strong ones, misubalim, are loaded. Okay, what is this talking about? Alufenu misubalim. So we have Machlokas, Rav Shmuel, two opinions. Some say it was Rav Yochanan and Elazar. Chad Amar 1 says, Alufenu b'Torah, there are chiefs in Torah, misubalim b'mitzvahs, and they're weighed down with all the mitzvahs that they do. Chad Amar Alufenu b'Torah u'b'mitzvahs, they are our chiefs in Torah mitzvahs, u'misubalim, and they're weighed down b'yisurim, with hardships, with afflictions, like sort of a theme in this, as we've had so far in the Masechta. And then the pasuk continues and it says, "Ein peretz." There should not be any peretz. Okay, and a peretz literally means a pirza, pirza kar. Lagan, a pirza is a hole, right, in the fence, sort of like a hole within the fence. There shouldn't be a hole. Kasiato shel David. Our group should not be like the group of David. Achitophel we mentioned earlier, big Russia, he came out of David's group, so he shouldn't be like Peretz. And Tosfos points out Peretz because David was David ben Yishai, he came from Peretz, right? Or a Pirza should Pirza b'Malchus beis David, right? He made a hole in the Malchus beis David. Okay, and then it says ve'ein yotzes. It shouldn't be that comes out of us. Our group should not be kasiyatenu shel shol. Shiyatzimenu doeg atoimi. Right, doeg also big Russia. Ve'ein sav chadashim beni scream. Shiyatzimenu shel Elisha. Shiyatzimenu geichazi. Geichazi came out of him. We said that he was acted inappropriately. Berchav v'seinu in the streets in public. Sheyilanu ben atam. We shouldn't have a son or a student. Shemachdiach tavshila barabim, who overcooks his plate in his cooked food in public, meaning that he makes a chil Hashem. Okay, so this is the prayer that they would have. Okay, and then the Gemara, the Mishnah, the Gemara continues with a pasuk in Yeshaya that says, "Shimu Elai, listen to me, Abirei Lev Harachaykim Tzedakah. Listen to me, those that are Abirei Lev, which means literally hard of hearts. Okay, or the mighty ones of the heart, Harachaykim Tzedakah, who are far from tzedakah." Okay, there's two opposing opinions on how to understand this pasuk. So the first one says, "Shimuli Abirei Lev Harachaykim Tzedakah." Rav Shmuel, again, and this is why it comes in, because it's two different opinions from Rav Shmuel, Rav Yochanan and Elazar, which is the same setup as that we had earlier in the bottom of the daf. That the whole, this is talking in reference to tzaddikim. Okay, the whole world is nourished b'tzedakah. The whole world does not merit really to be fully nourished, and Hashem tzedakah, he basically in a charitable fashion takes care of the world. But these tzaddikim, behem, them nizunim bizra, they actually are meritorious to live off of their own hand, their own work of hand, meaning they're righteous enough to be to merit God taking care of them. The other one says the rest of the world is actually nourished on their schus, on these tzaddikim. Behem, and them they barely nourish themselves. What does that mean? Daily baskol yotzes, a voice from heaven comes out and says, Mehar Chor from Har Chor, Omeres from Horeb, and it says, Kol ha'ilam kulai nezunin b'shvil Chanina b'ni. The whole world is sustained because of Chanina, my son. This is a reference to Chanina ben Dosa, great tzaddik. His stories brought down all over. That Nisa Nasalai we'll see later in the Gemara. But the baskol said, Chanina b'ni, and Chanina, my son. He survives of a kav. A kav is a small measurement of churban of this of the carob. Okay, of the boxer. I think it's a reference to the carob tree from erev Shabbos to erev Shabbos. From Friday to Friday, we'd only eat a small measure of fruits. Okay, well, Pligid Rav Yehuda, this argues with Rav Yehuda, because Rav Yehuda understood this pasuk to be talking about the opposite, about Rishayim. To Rav Yehuda, Man Avir Yelev, who are these these strong-hearted, but from the lashon of hard-hearted, they're not moved. Govai Tipshai, these are the fools from the Givonim. Okay, now they were the ones who had cut the story in Yeshua. They saw the destruction that Yeshua met out when they had come into the land, and the destruction with Yericho, with Ai, and they wanted to convert, so they dressed up as if they were travelers. They came and they converted, and their conversion was really not sincere. Yeshua instituted actually that they couldn't marry into the Jewish people as long as the Beis Hamikdash stood, and David HaMelech actually further decreed that they could never marry into the Beis Hamikdash, into the Jewish people. And Amar Rav Yosef Teda, you should note, there's never a gerif that came from him. They were very strong-hearted people. They weren't open to the spirituality that Judaism was teaching the world. The number of Rashi said, this is a reference to Bnei Masa Mechasya Avir Lev. They're the Bnei Avir Lev, the people of Bnei Masa Mechasya. To Kachazu Yakar Daraisa Trezim Mishaita, could see the honor of the Torah, and there was never a ger that came from them. So what does that mean? So the simple understanding is the kala, okay, the kala which we had earlier, the Igur de kala, where there was duchka, was the squish, was the tightness in the room, was really 3 times a year. Tosas points out that it only says twice a year here because Atzeres says only one day, so it didn't get such a crowd. But at least for Sukkot, and the halachas of Sukkot, halachas of Pesach, everyone would gather together, and the Nasi and the different Talmidei Chachamim would give shiurim about the halachas of the Chag before the Chag. And at these kalas, it was a great Kiddush Hashem. Everyone came together. Okay, Tosfos points out that in Amasa Mechasya, there's brought down that it was actually a miracle occurred, and a pillar of fire came down from heaven and stood above the synagogue. So it was actually a miracle, and still there was never any converts that came from that city. Okay, now we go back to the end of the Mishnah. We had said a chassan writes a likros kaira, right? A chassan, if he wants, he could read the Shema on the night of his wedding. And Rosh Gamliel said that no, it's you're a little haughty because not everybody who thinks they could, and you're probably not going to be able to have kavanah. Okay, so the Gemara says, "Lamemer Rav Shimon ben Gamliel chayish liyuhara." Rav Shimon ben Gamliel seems to be worried about yuhara, which is gaiva, right, with haughtiness, and you're trying to show that you can have concentration when everyone else can't have concentration. For Rabbanan, but the Rabbanan say, "Nah, it's not a big deal," and the reason is because loy chayish liyuhara, they're not afraid. Says the Gemara, I have a problem with that. We heard a brayso that says the opposite. A place where one is knowing to do malacha on the day of Tisha B'Av. Usually, okay, there are certain places where people did do malacha on Tisha B'Av, and where there are places where you're not supposed to, where they don't do malacha on Tisha B'Av, and you can't do it. But the Tanna Kama says, the Chacham said, in every place, Talmidei Chachamim could make himself batal and not work. And with no problem. Shimon Gamliel says, everyone should try to make himself like a Talmid Chacham and not work on Tisha B'Av, even in places where they do work. So that seems Gamliel is not worried the fact that you look like a Talmid Chacham and you stopped working and didn't work on Tisha B'Av, even though it looks now like you're in fact a Talmid Chacham. You're showing a little bit of haughtiness. So the Gemara says that's a question. Kasha Rabbanan, the Rabbanan are worried when they're not. The Kasha Shimon Gamliel. So the Gemara says, switch around the statements. One was from Rabbi Gamliel, and one was from the Chachamim. Okay, Rav Shisha, Braid Ravidi Amar Lo'ilam Loy Tachlif. You don't have to, or Loy Tefach. You don't have to switch them around. And I have a reason why they said what they said in each case. Rabbanan Leikasha, because Kriyishma by Kriyishma, where they said it's okay. Kavan to Kulei Amaka Karu says everyone in shul is reading. Viyunami Kari, and he also reads Loy Mechzik Yura. It doesn't look like he's going out of Because everyone says, okay, he can have kavana, he can't have kavana, but he's just saying Shema. So therefore, like Avid Mechzik Yura, and Rav Shimon Gamliel Kasha Hasam. When it comes to Krishma, we know B'Kavana Talia Milsa that the matters. First paragraph or the first line, it has to do with having a proper intention, with being able to focus. Vanan Sadi, and we have proof, we have witness, we're confident. And he can't. So therefore, for him to try to close his eyes and say Shema the night of his wedding, if he's marrying a basula, is not advised. It's not only is it not advisory, we can't allow him to do it, says Rosh Gamliel, because he looks like a Baal Gaiva, because he's no way he's going to have kavana. Haval when it comes to doing malacha, Haray Omer, someone sees malacha hu de'ein loy, he sees he's not doing work, he's going to say malacha hu de'ein loy. He just doesn't have a job. Puchazi, go out and say, Kambatlani ikka b'shuka. How many people that are batal, meaning people who don't have jobs, unemployment, that are in the marketplace. And therefore, if a guy just doesn't work on Yom Kippur, on Tisha B'Av, no one's going to think that he's being haughty. They're just going to think he doesn't have a job. Okay? Hadron Allah Chaya Koreh.